Shreya and Mihir will be our hosts today. We are recording now. Over to you, Shreya and Mihir.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good morning to everybody. And I am really happy that you all have joined in today. So I am Shreya Bhattar, a student, and I am currently the Education and Awareness Manager in the River Rangers project. Now, I would like Mihir to give his introduction first before we move ahead.
It seems that Mihir has connection problems today. So Enakshi, do you want to take over?
Yeah, sure. I think Mihir is having some connection problem. So hello everyone. Thank you for joining our session today. I'm Meenakshi Mazumdar. I'm currently the project and stakeholders manager at River Rangers. So I will be your co-host today, as Mihir was supposed to be here, but due to some network issues, he is not here. So I will take the session further ahead. So I would like Shreya to introduce our speakers and panelists for the day.
Thank you, Inakshi. Today, to celebrate with us and to inspire us, we have among Mr. Lockie Burke, founder of Bodhi Solutions and initiator of River Rangers project, Ms. Pauline Lavoisier, founder of East and initiator and enabler of River Rangers project, Mr. Meghdut Roy Chaudhary, director of Global Operations, Techno India Group, and our panelists, Mr. Ripudaman, pioneer of Litter India free movement and creator of eco-fitness like trash workout and plastic upavas. Mr. Ripudaman is also known as the plug man of India, and Mr. Ajay Mittal, Mr. Ajay Mittal, the director of Climate Action Program, India and Southeast Asia, Earth Day Network. Mr. Ankit Agarwal, he's a qualified CA, CS, and a CFE. He has worked in Earnest and Young in Forensic Investigation Department for 3 years. He's the co-founder of AdMagden. Now, I would like our initiator, Mr. Lockie Burke, founder and director of Bodhi Solutions, to inspire us with his few words.
Thank you very much, Shreya. Thank you everybody as well for joining us today. It's awesome to see you all here, and it's amazing that we're a year in already. And you know, there's so much we've achieved and there's so much we're yet to achieve. It speaks volumes of the group of people, the way that we've all responded to the challenges of the past year, whether they were things we came about at the GAT or within the communities that we're working with. Personally, as we've all, you know, taken on new skills to be as useful as we can towards the project. And then of course, in light of the last few months, you know, with the changing nature of things due to the COVID virus. So it's amazing that we're a year in. I can't wait to see what we do to come. And most importantly, every single person involved, you are so important to what we do. And what we do is so important for the future generations. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to work with every single one of you. And let's see how we go in year 2, hey?
Thank you, sir, for sharing your insightful journey with us. We all are extremely glad to work as change makers in the society. Thank you so much. Now I would like Pauline ma'am, founder of East, to share her experience with the River Rangers and give us a brief about East.
Thank you, Shreya, for the amazing emceeing that you're doing with me here in Enakshi. And I'm really, really glad, as Loki was just saying, to have been part of this journey with all of you. It's been a little more than a year now. We have started working with the River Rangers from the 1st of September 2019, and weekly going to this Malik Ghat in Kolkata and try to, you know, take the issue into our own hands and participate to the solution to our on our, you know, individual capacities. And, you know, to me, of course, East, the organization that I co-founded with Meghdut, was on board right from the beginning in Kolkata, not only for solving or contributing to solving the issue of waste, but also, and even to some extent, more importantly, being working with youth, a youth that is conscious, that is responsible, that is proactive and active about issues and big challenges such as waste management, and being able to provide you and the youth leadership opportunities to learn and professionally and personally grow. So it's been an immense pleasure and privilege to see you, Shreya, for example, or Enakshi, or Mihir, or Sanchit, or Brajesh, or Sohail, or Parth, or all of the team grow over the past year. I couldn't have wished better than that, seeing you grow through the process. One thing that I wanted to share with you today before passing on the mic to Megdud for some other inspiring words is that especially Mihir and Sanchit, two of our river rangers, have been working really, really hard to make the website of the River Rangers live. It is now live as of today. You can consult it on theriverrangers.org. It is beautifully designed. It also, if you see on the homepage, it also goes through all of the achievements that we collectively reached over the past year. Knowing that in the past couple of months, of course, we were not able to collect any waste because of the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown. But even with that, the achievements of the team have been absolutely tremendous. And we're really, really inviting all of you, other youngsters, partners, organizations, to really get in touch with us and join our teams and join our efforts. Because the COVID-19, we will need more than this to really stop us. And during this lockdown, we have been able to focus on awareness and education online because we haven't been able to go on the field. And so impact doesn't stop. And so again, I would like to congratulate Mihir and Sanchit for the amazing work that they've been doing with this website. And that could not have made us any prouder. So congratulations, and over to you, Shreya, again.
Thank you, ma'am. As always, your words are influence to us to carry out our responsibilities. Now, I would like Megdud sir, Director of Global Operations, Techno India Group, to motivate us with his words. So,
thank you, Shreya. First and foremost, hi everyone. How's it going? A warm welcome from Calcutta. I think a lot of people have joined in from outside as well. My dear friend Lockie, it's good to see your face. It's been a while. Pauline's closer home, so that's okay. To Ajay, to Ripu, and all the others who've joined in today. Very proud of being part of this this amazing journey, which has almost reached more than a year, and it feels so good to see the website up and running. When we started the River Rangers project back when it was still called the Ganges River Cleanup Project, it really wasn't thought out to be something that would go on for that long. I mean, of course, one can dream, but the initial idea was that, Lockie was in town in Calcutta, and we were hanging out, and someday we just said, why don't we try and do something which raises awareness about ocean pollution and about river waste and how the two are connected. And that's from the point of view of that's where the project started, and it feels like it's come a long way, since then. So of course, enormously proud. Great work, team, to since the thing got rebranded into the River Rangers. I think we've really taken on the superhero roles very seriously. I think that was the initial purpose of the rebranding itself, that there's a hero within all of us, and by calling ourselves heroes, I think we sort of christen and we institutionalize that position. So very happy that happened at some point as well. I don't know what lies ahead for the River Rangers project. I would only hope for the best of things, but as somebody who deeply cares about the city that we live in, about Kolkata, about raising awareness not just amongst the youth but amongst citizens in general, I think there are very few projects which have had the kind of length and breadth in terms of awareness that we've been able to do with the River Rangers project. In whatever little way I've been involved with the project from day one, I'm glad that I'm glad that Lockie took that first dip. on the very first day and caused national news. I'm glad that it went viral, and I'm glad that so many people week on week have joined in the project to give it so much more color, so much more flair. And I hope that the project keeps on growing. As Director of Global Operations at Techno India Group, I guess it's also my responsibility to make sure that as one of the largest education management groups in the country, we keep putting our feet down whenever we see something that's going on that's wrong, and that we can make a tangible impact towards. And that's why Y-East also happened. That's why the River Rangers also was, we could contribute to that project in that way. And hopefully we'll be able to keep doing that. So keep supporting us, whoever's here. You're all part of the team. You're all part of this giant family that keeps on growing every day. And hopefully one day we'll have made tangible impact, in terms of statistical insights as well. When you talk about the amount of ocean pollution that has been reduced because of the Kolkata River Ranges. So super proud of you guys. Thank you very much for keep doing, thank you very much for doing the great work that you're doing, and keep at it. All my very, very best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words, for encouraging us, for giving us your blessings. Okay. So now, before we move ahead, I would like you all to see a short, compassionate video. Apurupa ma'am, if you can please.
I will share it myself, Shreya. So this is a 3-minute video before we give the mic to Ripu for his keynote. It's a 3-minute video that has been created by the River Rangers themselves in the past few days. I've discovered it myself yesterday in avant-première, and it kind of gave me goosebumps. So I hope you also feel the same way when you see it. Enjoy. Let me share this. Can you all see my white screen? Yes.
Plastic. I know you have heard this word thousands of times and you have also used it. But do you know plastic is harmful to humans and animals? It takes thousands of years to decay. The result? Fish and wildlife getting poisoned.
The toxins from plastic entering the food chain and threatening the human health contaminates the water bodies like rivers, oceans, lakes and groundwater, which is a serious threat to the environment.
Plastic bag litter has become an environmental nonsense, which if not treated effectively can be quite devastating.
The world consumes 1 million plastic shopping bags every minute. India's consumption is one of the highest in the world.
India makes a huge contribution to plastic waste entering the ocean. It ranks 12th in top 20 countries for dumping plastic waste into the seas from their respective coastlines.
India generates 56 lakh tons of plastic waste, and it aims to eliminate single-use plastic waste by the year 2022.
Nearly 700 marine species in the world oceans are threatened by plastic.
A great scenario, a move to reduce plastic flow into the water body is the need of the hour.
Since September 2019, the River Rangers have been working towards river surface cleaning, restoration and raising public awareness by conducting cleanup drives as well as public awareness drives at Malik Ghat on every Sunday.
Last 1 year, we have collected over 11,000 kgs of plastic from a single ghat.
We are aiming to protect water and marine life, sustain ghat communities, and to raise awareness and educate people about the devastating effects of plastic.
We can reduce pollution by rethinking plastic and modifying the way we produce and consume.
We believe if we can all come together, we won't take much time to revive our seas, oceans, and water bodies breathe a little bit better.
Congratulations to all of you. It also was a great opportunity for all of the speakers and the guests here on this call to discover our core river rangers. All of them had a little time slot to speak through this video. Me here, it seems that you have managed to join us. Hi, me here. Please take it over. It's over to you. Keep going with the program. You're on mute, me here.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
What an insightful and knowledgeable video it was. I am literally shook up after watching that video, after watching a dreadful scene of plastic being struck into the bird's neck and stomach. If you all are having the same pinch, then drop a comment in the Q&A section below. Let us know through the chat section. Hi guys, I am Mihir Sharma, a student, a learner, the technology manager of the River Rangers project, and above all, the second host for the day. I know I have came up after so many long time, nearly after 20 minutes, but no worries. I am there till now, till the end of the webinar. So now it's the time for our keynote speaker, Mr. Ripu Daman sir, who is known as the Flogman of India. And am I audible to all?
Yes, keep going.
Now it's time for our Ripu Daman sir, the keynote speaker, pioneer of litter-free India movement and creator of eco-fitness like trash workout and plastic upwas, to present us a speech and delight us with his experience on plogging. So Ripu Daman sir, can you please take over?
Sure. Thank you so much, Mihir, and thank you everyone, Loki, Pauline, Meghdut, Ajay, all of you guys, the entire River Rangers team for having me. And it is, I'd have to be honest, it's not irony, it's like a happy coincidence that I'm sitting right next to River Ganga, which is just 100 meters away from me right now, and doing this webinar with you guys, the River Rangers. I hadn't planned it this way, but it is what it is. And I'm glad to be here and would like to speak about the entire movement that we've been on for the last 3+ years. We are into the 4th year of what we do. But let me just quickly share my screen first and see if it works fine before I get into all of the things that we do. Let me know when you guys can see my screen.
We can see it perfectly, Ripu. You're good.
All right. So that's our little logo. I think if you look at what we focused on this slide is litter free, right? There's a reason for it, and I'm going to talk about it as we go along. But I want to draw your attention, everyone's attention, to this slide first. The irony of this slide, the times that we are living in right now, the issues that we face, we as in India and globally as well. In the last several decades or maybe a century, the kind of impact we've created on our environment, the human activity, the climate change, so on and so forth, has led us to this, that in spite of all sorts of precautions that we take today, like for example, how do you prevent yourself from corona, is by wearing a mask, maintaining social distancing, washing your hands, hand hygiene, all of that, and we still might not be able to survive, is because of the challenges and problems that we have with our world today, and most of them are man-made, right? But since there are thousands of problems out there. Of course, there are solutions, and we want people to come up with or be just more responsible towards their environment. We decided to take up this problem. This picture again kind of highlights what we try to solve, or what we try to bring in as an understanding, as an awareness within the society of what you and I, people sitting here right now, common folk as it can be, to do our bit towards the environment. And while I move through the slides, it's an open forum. So if anybody has any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask me then and there. All right. But I am pretty certain, looking at this slide, nobody wants this. Look at our view of nature and look at nature's view of us. It's not fair. Let's talk about the boring stuff, which is important. Is basically what sort of problems are we dealing with, right? And it is a huge problem. I mean, just looking at those figures, India generates 26,000 tons of plastic a day, 40% of which is uncollected. That is a huge number. And we're not even talking about all of the collected stuff. What happens to that? That is another huge problem. But let's keep all of that aside. Okay, we've collected, the municipalities are doing a great job. But what happens to all the waste that is not even collected? What happens? Where does it go? Where does it end up? 90% of all plastic ever created on this planet Earth, ever, has never been recycled, right? We know where it goes. We know it goes into landfills, into the litter dumps, into rivers, into oceans, water bodies, finally entering the food chain. First of all, impacting the entire animal life, marine life, and entering the food chain, impacting us. So it's a vicious cycle that we've gotten ourselves into. And that's what we need to figure our way out of, and way out of very, very quickly. We've all seen this. By 2050, there will be more plastic than fish by weight in the oceans. But look at this. If we go at this rate, landfills will hold 12 billion metric tons by 2050. I don't know how to measure that weight. How much weight does that add to our Earth? 12 billion metric tons. The number just scares me, so I wanted to put it out there. But yeah, and like I said, all the waste that we generate, 80% of it is either in landfills or in the water bodies or oceans. And that's where the problem is. And how do we solve it? I am pretty certain that all of us are trying to find those answers, but I am going to talk about some of the things that we've been doing. But before that, a very important question. And if anybody has an answer, then let me know. So do we now, with all the problems that plastic creates, all the boring stuff that we spoke about in the previous slide, and so much more, we all talk about plastic. Is plastic the real villain? It's something that I want to ask everyone. Because my answer to that, and I'd love to hear more inputs. But my answer is no. Think about our consumption. Think about our habits of use and throw. The real villains, whenever we ask for what is the problem, where the problem lies with us. Every finger needs to point at ourselves, because we've created this material, we consume it, we manufacture it, and we throw it, right? So ultimately the problem lies with us. It starts with us and it ends with us. And we need to figure out ways how we as humanity, as the most intelligent race on this planet, I believe that's still true, that still holds true, work our ways out of this problem. Okay, so a little bit about what I do. Now, 3-4 years back when I started out, I had this dream. I always say I have this crazy dream of seeing India litter free, making India litter free. And why I always focus on litter is primarily because it was 2016, 2017, when the world was talking about going plastic free, single-use plastic free, sustainable living, zero waste, so on and so forth. And here in India specifically, of course, there are a few other countries as well, where we've not even gotten over our problem of littering, the most basic civic sense. Spitting and littering two major problems that you'll see in any Indian city or any Indian place. And that's the most basic civic sense. People have just forgotten that the only permanent home that we have is the planet Earth, not the four walls of a house that we keep cleaning all the time and throw all of it out, because that's what our real home is. That's the only permanent home. And my endeavor was to bring that awareness back, to bring that civic sense back. I always used to say, or I believe in, we will not be able to clean up by actually cleaning up. We will have to stop littering. That is the first and foremost solution that we can have. Like we always say, prevention is better than cure. So first, let's get over our habits of littering. Let's stop littering, and it's very simple. We just need to find a trash bin or take the trash that we've created back to our home, segregate into dry and wet waste, and just give it to the municipality tomorrow. We'll talk about collection, recycling later, but let's get done with littering. We need to stop that completely. And that's a major menace across the country that I've seen. Just stopping for a bit and checking if anybody has any inputs, questions for me. If I don't hear back, yeah, Pauline, you have something?
I just wanted to make sure everyone was clear that if you have a question, especially for the attendees, you can write it down in the Q&A box that you see on your screen. And of course, the panelists and the river rangers that are here directly with Ripu can directly ask him questions as he invited you to do. Just unmute yourself and go ahead with your questions. Yeah.
Oh,
so you can do that now. Thank you, Ripu, for giving us the space for questions. It's really kind. Anyone has a question? All good?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, let's move forward.
All right. Okay. So what did I do? I'm talking specifically to everyone out there. I'm talking specifically in terms of the problems that we face in India, right? A lot of these problems overlap with the world, but picking up litter, picking up garbage, cleaning up your roads and your surroundings is a job that is A, looked down upon in India, B, a certain section of the society only does it. And that's a specific section of the society, again, which is looked down upon. So basically, a regular citizen like you and I think that it is not our job to keep our surroundings litter free or clean. It's not our responsibility to what happens outside of the four walls of our house. And that's what we wanted to fight against, this societal perception. And I thought, how do you change all of this? My mission statement became, I want to make cleaning up other people's litter the coolest thing to do in India. That was my mission statement. Now, how do you make something look cool, sound cool, which is looked down upon? So I thought, let's make it a fitness activity. And I said, let's make it a holistic fitness activity, which not just improves your physical, mental, and emotional well-being, but also fights the societal misconception that the litter on the road is not our responsibility. It definitely is our responsibility. So we created a holistic workout called the trash workout. I've done these workshops with schools, 50 odd schools across the country. And we've taken them online right now, and we teach kids how to do household chores, the typical broom and mop that no teenager would have ever done at this point. Most teenagers would have never done it, right? Just to get people to share responsibility with their parents. But that's what we did. We took the route of fitness and running towards the garbage crisis, or to fight the garbage crisis in the country. And why did we do what we do is basically when you bend down, and this is my belief, when you bend down to pick up somebody else's litter, you will not litter again. And that's the first problem that we are trying to solve. We're trying to get people to stop littering, and that's what Trash Workout does for most of our participants. The second thing that we spoke about was plastic of us. for Loki or anybody who's joining from outside India, Upvas is a very common, very popular term in India. Upvas basically means fasting. So Indians do Upvas. They take fasts on the most auspicious day for somebody's good health, for their own family's good health. The world does intermittent fasting today for better health and metabolism and detox. So our point was, why not take fast on that one thing that is destroying the planet and your health at the same time? Single-use plastic, or single-use anything for that matter, right? Anything that generates waste, creates waste, is a problem to the environment. So we said, let's start with one single-use item that you want to shun from your life. Don't think about, oh, we are complete, disposables and single-use plastic is omnipresent. Let's talk about what's that one single item that you would like to shun from your life. And let's start from there. Let's make that journey one step at a time. And that's what Plastic Upvas, that's how Plastic Upvas came in. I'm going to talk about on a couple of slides. I see a question, so I'm going to. So as individuals, we need to do our bit. I absolutely agree. But I wanted to ask, what's your take on policy changes in this particular area by local governing bodies, and how do we? Yeah, that's a critical question. Sohail, and I'm going to address that at some point of time. Let me just quickly go through the rest of the slides on Plastic Upvas. But if I have to summarize that for you in a sentence or two, our entire journey or focus has been consumers like you and me, simple individuals, common folks, citizens of the country, you and me, because I believe there are three primary levels of ecosystem that we have to impact, and I'm going to talk about in three levels, right? So if you see, so there's one here, which is consumers, you and I, all right, regular citizens of the country. Then there are manufacturers here sitting on top of them, and then there are the policy makers who create all of these policies around plastic waste management, so on and so forth. And then there's obviously the government. There are a few stakeholders in between, rack pickers, so on and so forth. And I'll take that question up in detail a little later. But so we focus primarily on the consumers part, which is the citizens, you and I, right? And as we impact this level, automatically it does impact the manufacturers and the policy makers. And I'll give you a simple example. There are 2 crore people in Delhi. Somehow we get all of them to say no to a single-use plastic on one day. All right. Right now, let's take that scenario that every person on a daily basis consumes, and throws a single-use plastic bottle every day. That means 2 crore bottles, single-use plastic bottles being consumed and thrown. Now, if those 2 crore people say no to plastic bottle on one day and just carry their own bottles, 2 crore bottles being manufactured but not being consumed. The manufacturers themselves are profit-making companies, right? They'll try to invest more in R&D to come up with solutions which can sell, because we all want to make profit. So it's about economy, it's about profits, and how do we consumers impact that is what we focus on. I hope that answers your question in a sense, and we'll take that up later a little more. All right, so we were on Plastic Upvas, and let me share. Now there are hundreds of things that you can do. A lot of people say, I switched over from a plastic straw, a plastic cup, a plastic mug to a paper straw, paper mug. My answer to them, or my question to them is, it's still single use. It's still creating waste. Do you know, to keep the paper cup from getting wet, there's an internal lining of flimsy plastic, which makes it unrecyclable as well. So whenever we think about alternatives, don't think about moving away from plastic to paper or any other alternative. Think about how you can move away from single use to reusable. That is what our focus should be. And that's what Plastic of Us is about. Think about moving from single use to reusable, not from plastic to any other material, right? So here's just a simple example from a coffee shop, how you can carry your own cup. In this case, I have a bamboo cup that I replaced from any plastic mug or paper mug. The next question, or the next Plastic of Us, I wanted to bring this out because I think it's not a question about what choices do we make and how perfect are they, because there are no perfect solutions. So if you see, in a lot of countries, in a lot of cultures, paper is used in the toilet, right? Whereas in a lot of countries, especially places like India, we use our jet streams. Now, in one case, we're using water. Water is also a limited resource. And the other case, we are actually using these paper napkins. Personally, I believe that using water is a little better. But again, that's also a limited resource. So there are no perfect solutions here. What we need to see is what's the best alternative that we have and try to stick to it and limit our carbon footprint. All right. There's no perfect choice here. Okay, now let's talk about what we have on our hands with the current times. Now, these two images might be very drastic, but this is what we're dealing with right now. Now, with Corona, a lot of single-use items have made a reappearance into our lives. A lot of disposable, a lot of plastic packaging, because we feel that if it's covered in plastic, if it's completely wrapped and packaged, sealed tight, it'll prevent us from Corona. But there was a Lancet study in May, if people don't know, that the most conducive material on which Corona can last up to 7 days includes plastic. There were a couple of other materials. For example, surgical masks, even the surgical masks are made out of propylene, which is a derivative of plastic. It's not a cloth mask per se, right? So our understanding of plastic preventing all sorts of viruses and preventing us from Corona is not really true. So think twice before you start using single-use masks and gloves specifically. Because if I have to maybe give you an estimate from a country like Italy, which is a small country, if only 1% of their masks end up in oceans, there will be 10 million new pieces of surgical masks every month. Just 1% of a country like Italy every month will have 10 million masks a day into the ocean bed. That is a huge number. So we need to ask ourselves, are we leading ourselves into another pandemic, another crisis at the end of it? Once we fight over Corona, hopefully one fine day we will be over it. But we need to ensure that we don't miss out on our fight of plastic pollution. The pandemic should not be an excuse for us to let all the plastic back into our lives. Yeah, this is what I always say: zero waste is a journey, not a destination. Start now, because we'll always create some sort of waste. We'll always living a zero waste lifestyle is if not impossible, it is extremely difficult. It's right at the edge of being impossible in the world that we live in today. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Your lifestyle doesn't have to be perfect. Just start today. Think of that one single-use item that you'll shun from your life, and think of that as your plastic of past, and make that as a catalyst towards your journey of. Also quickly, what Pauline mentioned, I think I'll quickly take a minute to talk about Run to Make India Litter Free. It's summarized in that one single sentence. I ran around the country, ran and cleaned up around the country, 50 cities in 50 days. And by the end of that campaign, 50 lakh people or 5 million people across the country had joined us, and the government of India adopted my mission. So Swachh Bharat has literally become synonymous with a litter-free India movement that we created, because because like I always say, we will not be able to clean up the country by cleaning up. We will have to stop littering. So the focus should be on littering. And that's what we're trying to solve in India right now. I have a small video from that campaign. Is it okay, guys, if I play that? It's a 1.5 minute video.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Please do.
I have the video here. Are you able to view my screen?
Yeah.
With the, yeah?
Yeah, all good.
I am on a mission to make India litter-free. We started this mission from Kochi on September 5th. Since then, we've covered Madurai, Coimbatore, Salem, Puducherry, and today we're in Chennai at the Marina Beach. 40 plus hours of cleanup, hundreds of trash bags filled, close to 400 kgs of trash collected, 40 plus kilometers of run and cleanup. And thank you to close to 200 people who've joined in so far. Looking forward to more people joining in. Come join us in your city and let's make India litter-free together.
All right, so that was a short video. We made this video at the start of the campaign. We were probably just 3-4 cities into our campaign. We were about 3-4 cities into our campaign, and we shot this video just to get more and more people involved. But it also probably give you an idea of what trash workout is about, how we were running and cleaning up and doing all sorts of workouts and exercises. These are some of the images from those drives, happy people after cleanup. So just to give you a sense, we started from Kochi. I was joined by a teenager at 4 a.m. in the morning as my first participant of that campaign. And through that campaign, we touched thousands and lakhs of people. In fact, close to 5 million through the government's involvement. This is Kota, this is Jammu, that's the highest point. This is an image which is very close to my heart because my mother receiving on my behalf the certificate for the Plugging Ambassador of India from the Honorable Sports Minister of India. And she always asks me questions about the financial sustainability of it. I quit my tech startup 3 years back to make this my full-time mission and full-time work, literally. And she still asks me questions about financial sustainability, but I'm sure she was proud that day. So that's why it's a beautiful picture to be. And how can you join us? Those are primarily our handles. Yes, we have a Facebook page as well, Vloggers of India. And we'll be out with our website soon. And congratulations, Berlin, for that wonderful website, the River Ranges. I know we've known each other for almost a couple of years now. And it's wonderful to see the work that you guys have been doing with the River Ranges. And a lot of our work kind of overlaps with everything that we do because we focus on the source of the waste. We're talking about households. We're trying to take that awareness within households, within schools, where the waste is being generated. Because as we cut down the waste that's being generated, the lesser waste, the lesser amount of litter, we will see in the river. So it's very important to clean up, but it's also important to take that awareness, take those drives within the households. And like Shreya was mentioning, that you guys do talk to the local residents, which is extremely, extremely important. So congratulations. And I'm very happy to be a part of this day. If anybody wants to connect with us, you know the Twitter and Instagram handles to join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm audible?
Yes, you are, Mihir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ripu sir, for your super amazing PPT and your kind words. We all have looked up to you as a role model, and we all have been inspired by you. The idea of blogging and you as the Blogman of India is such a great honor. First, before moving forward, I would like to wish you all a very happy World Cleanup Day. As today is 21st September, we have World Cleanup Day today. Last year, we have celebrated World Cleanup Day with the locals and draw street art. And today, on this auspicious occasion, we are celebrating it as a webinar, as an event. So, a very happy World Cleanup Day to all of you present here. Now, it's the time for panel discussion round. But before we start, I would like to mention a few things. It would be great if each panelist take 2 minutes to introduce their nature against the challenge-based management or their respective area of focus. And for the audience, you have a great opportunity. I would like to inform you that you have any questions during the discussion, kindly write it down in the chat section, or you can wait for the dedicated Q&A session at the end of the panel discussion. So just write down the questions and we will surely ask it to our panelists. I think finally it's now the time to introduce our panelists. First, I would like to introduce Mr. Ajay Mittal sir. He is the Director of Climate Change Programs, India and Southeast Asia, Earth Day Network. And secondly, I would like to introduce Mr. Ankit Agarwal sir. He is a qualified CSCS and CFE. He has worked in Ernst and Young in the Forensic Investigation Department for 3 years. He is the co-founder of AdMyBin. So I would like to start with Ajay sir. Ajay sir, can you please take over?
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, Loji. And thank you, Ripu, for this wonderful context, setting the context for this discussion. We are at this event, the session called the World Cleanup Day. As I would agree with Ripu, probably this is a day when it does not exist or it becomes irrelevant. We have won this particular battle, I believe, because we don't need cleanups. I think that's the goal. We should not have littering on the streets or anywhere, because all of these trash ultimately ends up, as you said, into the landfills or our oceans. And that's our goal, to discuss how can we address this issue. So I work for the Earth Day Network. It's a global nonprofit which was started 50 years ago in US. It was a US-centric organization for a few years from it started. It was started by a very young person called Dennis Hayes, who started as a first movement. Today we talk a lot about environmental action, a lot of advocacy, a lot of movements. And this was this young guy at the age of 22 who started the first such movement when there was no such social media buzz, and no one was talking about environment at that point. And today it stands as a network of 190 countries, over 50,000 partners. And we mostly work on awareness. And I know Ripu has been associated with Earth Day at some point of time. We were part of the Blog Run of India last year. So the India Blog Run, sorry. So that's so we work with partners, and that's how we are associated with this particular initiative called River Rangers as partners. We collaborated. We always look and believe in the power of collaboration. And similarly, we had 2 significant projects in the area of waste that we launched as a theme for the 50 years celebration, which happened this year. One was the Great Global Cleanup, which is a network of self-organized cleanup events across the world. It is all mapped onto our website and earthday.org, where anyone can find a global cleanup and participate. And the goal was to collect billions in pieces of trash through this initiative. Other was end plastic pollution. We have built certain toolkits where we can help schools, colleges, and anyone to go through those toolkits and how to reduce plastic pollution. Because the word here is removing plastic pollution. How can we better use plastic? Because it's in my understanding and it's my opinion that which also Ripu mentioned, is not problem is not plastic alone. It is how we use it. And just expanding a little bit on that perspective about how our consumption patterns and how we use things and how we dispose things is a big problem. Is example of food waste. Food waste is one of the category of waste which is huge in terms of numbers, both the food which is prepared and wasted, and food which is unprocessed is also wasted. Just giving a simple figure, in India, the amount of wheat that is wasted is equal to the production of total in Australia. It's 21 metric tons. So that's huge, and it's a challenge of logistics in terms of this thing. So it's not just that when we talk about waste, it's just the waste which is unused things or things that we don't need. A lot of things are wasted which could be actually be used. We are talking about a problem of people still dying hungry in parts of our world, and we still have so much of food waste happening. So as Ripu also pointed out, it's a problem of how we are dealing with the problem in terms of our approach as well. Someone in the between asked the question about policy. I think India has one of the strong policies in terms of waste. The 2016 rules of solid waste management, the plastic pollution and electronic waste, everything is bang on. It's very, very comprehensive. It's very much, it kind of submits everything, but where we have failed is all our municipalities and do not comply. There are various court cases pending against the municipalities where they have not been able to comply. In the Green Tribunal, there is a case pending against the Kolkata Municipal Corporation to have implemented segregation of waste for years now, and they have failed to do it. And we are talking about a city which is a metropolitan city in India, and it has failed to comply with the waste management rules. Another type of waste which I would like to mention is the C&D waste, which is the construction and demolition waste, which recycling of that is just 2% in entire India. And it's one of the most toughest kind of waste to process, because it's very expensive to process that kind of waste. And there is none of the cities, even a state like Maharashtra and Mumbai, which is one of the most cash-rich municipalities, they do not still have a construction and demolition waste treatment plant. It is just a few cities like Delhi and Hyderabad have this thing. So there is an absence of infrastructure also that exists because of managing waste. So it all boils down to, in my understanding, to how we manage things. And there was a point about the COVID-19 thing. Of course, this is written two challenges, but it is also an opportunity for us, I believe, because it has also started a lot of discussions over environmental factors, because people somehow have seen that you cannot ignore science. This is the first example where people have started believing in science. People are actually wearing masks, and most of the people are taking this seriously. All of us, like as activists, have been talking about air pollution and asking people to wear masks when it's polluted. It never happened. No one took it seriously because this process was very slow. People didn't believe in science. But today, now you see everyone wearing masks. Now, it might appear as a big problem because of disposable plastics use has increased. I know a lot of restaurants, which are top-notch restaurants, who would never use a disposable, are actually serving in disposables now, because consumers prefer that. That's not their option. Consumers prefer, and they have a psyche that it is safer to use a disposable in case of such times. So that's like kind of a little summary, because it's a very, very vast topic, very complex topic to talk about. So I would like to go to more specific if there are questions in these things, and that's how we can proceed.
Thank you so much, Ajay. Mihir, are you connected? Yes. Great. Go ahead.
There was a lot much to grab in this. Thank you, Ajay sir, for delighting us with your kind words and sharing your experience and work with us. This experience and work are not available in the market. It is available in Ajay sir's mind. So if you want to just take some huge insights, contact Ajay sir. Now it's the time for our second panelist, Ankit sir, to tell us something about his work. Ankit sir.
Thank you, Mir. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I am audible. Yeah. So it was a great insight with Ajay. And we know we have been working on river ranges from I think it's been 1 year. And thank you, Ripu. I got to know about the blogging thing which you are doing. And it's very nice to know the initiative which you have started. It's very much required in current times. I would like to tell you about Add My Bin. So what we are doing, we are into installation and maintenance of litter bins on streets. So we started this journey in 2015, wherein we installed litter bins on street, and we took up the initiative of maintaining those bins ourselves. As we see, the bigger problem with people is they want to use a bin, but they don't find a bin at the right place at the right time. So that was a big issue which we personally we were facing. So we started with residential complexes and tested this model. And then after some time, we successfully implemented that on streets. And currently we are working with 6 municipalities in Kolkata, Jamshedpur and Siliguri. And we install these litter bins and we maintain it on a daily basis. And that's totally free of cost for government and the public. We invite different corporates to do their CSR activity as well as branding activities with us, wherein we provide them space on top of this litter bin, wherein they can do their brand recognition and CSR work. So that was about Add My Bin. But adding to river ranges, I think it's a great initiative, and we were much honored to be a very small part of this by sending our team to Ghat for cleanup and our waste van which were there for collection of waste. So that was a very small part which we played, and we really are looking forward then when can we start it again, because that was a much required initiative for Ganga cleanup which we really want to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ankit. And before I give the mic back to Mihir and Shreya, I really would like to take this opportunity to thank both Ajay, Enders the Network, as well as Ankit and Admabin for everyone's information. Since we started the work with the River Rangers 1 year ago, Earth the Network has been participating extensively, especially Ajay also personally, extensively to the cleanup drives on Malik Ghat, and Ankit and Admaibin have been very, very helpful in helping us, especially thanks to their e-bikes, taking the waste from the Ghat to a proper disposal place. And so without this, it would have been very much of a logistical headache. So thank you so much to both of you and to your respective organizations for the same. And we also look forward to be back to Malik Ghat. Let's see when COVID-19 lets us do this. Mihir, over to you.
Thank you, Pauline ma'am and Ankit sir, for your delightful and such kind words. We all are grateful to Admire and you to support us through our cleanup drives. Now, I think finally it's the time for our panel discussion round. So, I would like to ask my first question to start the panel discussion and ask my first question to Ripu sir. Ripu sir, are you ready?
Absolutely.
So, sir, my first question to you is, the issue of waste management is so vast, from pollution on land versus in rivers and oceans, from disposal to treatment, from formal to informal economy. How do you structure this issue for a better understanding and for more efficient and collective action?
Right, and that's a very important question and something which also overlaps with what Sohail had asked earlier, and that's why I said I'll take it up a little more. later, is going back to what I was trying to explain in terms of the three primary levels of hierarchy in the ecosystem. Policymakers right on top, and then manufacturers, policymakers, I just spoke about it as well, right? The kind of, and then right at the bottom is the consumers, you and I, people sitting here right now. Most of us are not manufacturers in one way or the other, right? Now, referring to what Ajay mentioned, that we have all the policies in place. A lot of it has been put into black and white. There is the EPR as well, extended producer responsibility, and all the other things that he mentioned. But unfortunately, the execution ground has been always a challenge. Multiple stakeholders. So if you look at these three levels of hierarchy, within those levels, there are, of course, the municipalities, and then the people employed with this, the sanitation workers and people employed with the municipalities. Then there is the unorganized sector of the kabadiwalas, the raddiwalas, and then below them are all the rack pickers, and so similar people who do these as day jobs in the unorganized sector, right? And multiple other stakeholders as well. How do you take all of these things? How do you take all of these policies to right at the bottom level? How do all these policies permeate, and how do you incentivize all the stakeholders is also important, because you've made a policy, but how does that impact the life of a rack picker? How can he improve his lifestyle? How can he improve his earning, his living for his family? Right? Those are questions that need to be answered, and only then will such policies be executed. But if we have to understand the problem, we have to also understand all these three levels are interconnected. Like Ankit mentioned about the Add My Bin initiative, which is wonderful. People speak about there are not enough trash bins, but Ankit, you would also admit that you would have seen yourself that there's a bin maybe 20 meters, 10 meters away, and people still throw right where they're standing. So it's not just the problem of bins, it is the mindset which is a problem, as well as how do we connect all these three levels to work in sync. Simple example, extended producer responsibility. The government has created a policy, but kind of pushed all of it down to the manufacturers. Now, if they start implementing or executing EPR to the T, their profits go down, right? They're all profit-making companies. So how do you expect just the manufacturers to take up the EPR completely? The government and the consumers and various other stakeholders need to work together with it. To simplify it a little more, let's talk about, again, the bin. So we give 3 steps to a litter-free India. All right, and it's specifically to Add My Bin in a way. Step number 1, put your litter in a trash bin only. All right, and you'll find that most of us know about these, but the question is, how many of us follow it? The day 130 crore Indians, 1.3 billion Indians follow just these three simple steps, we will see a litter-free India. The magic will happen. So step number 1, put your litter in a trash bin only. Step number 2, if you see something around you and if you feel like, pick it up and put it in a trash bin. Step number 3, most of us crib and complain there are not enough trash bins. Okay, so take your trash, the plastic bottle that you've just consumed, the chips packet that you've just had, in your pocket, keep it in your pocket, keep it in your car, take it back home, segregate into dry and wet waste, and give it to the municipality that comes in most cities in India to your doorstep the next day. Every day they come to your doorstep, right? The problem with municipalities is they are short-staffed, they can't do all the segregation, and they will never do segregation actually, irrespective of the municipality. So it's upon us, the consumers, to actually segregate it as well, right? So I've spoken about multiple things in at this point, but like I said, just remember the 3 levels of hierarchy of the ecosystem, and we got to work together. And remember, when you as a consumer make a change, it does impact the manufacturers. And at some point, if we have a bigger chunk of consumers trying to make that change, the policy makers have to hear our voices and follow accordingly.
Thank you, Ripu sir, for your kind words. I think there might not be a better answer to that question. I am extremely clear about that question, and what the way you have explained is just fabulous. Thank you, sir, once again. So my next question is to Ajay sir. Ajay sir, are you ready?
Yes.
So Ajay sir, as you have been associated with Earth Day, my next question to you is, to what extent has the COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated our plastic pollution issue?
Yes, thank you, Beer. I think that's a very relevant question in these times because it's top of our mind, COVID-19 and how it impacts everything. And we have seen so many changes in our lives because of COVID-19 in our personal lives, but it also has shifted our priority. If you look at single-use plastic is something which we all these things and with efforts of everyone, it has gained a certain mind space in all our minds. A lot of people have actually started to be mindful about their consumption of single-use plastics. But this COVID-19 has brought in a new set of challenges because it has completely shifted the priority because people definitely will value their lives more than anything because that appears as an immediate gratification in terms of a long-term gain of fighting plastic pollution. So that's where it has shifted the gear from our minds. And also, I think one of the things which is also very challenging, and I would like to mention about single-use plastic is that you must have seen that in India, the Prime Minister had announced, and there was a lot of expectation that the Prime Minister would announce a ban on single-use plastics. But what happened right behind the scenes is that there was an extensive lobby of which actually forced the industry actually forced that thing to get delayed. Now there is an expectation that by 2022 there might be some kind of a ban which might happen in single-use plastics. And we have seen some of the states came up with bans of single-use plastics. For individual states, there were smaller municipalities which came up with this ban. But then what happened to those bans? Were they contained? In my expectation and understanding, it was not, because a lot of these places, the alternatives did not made as available as it should have been, and that's where the I think the problem is. So for me, listing down and summarizing this answer, I think the first level of the problem is awareness on the effects of plastic pollution. Second is awareness on the availability of alternatives, because not all of the people are aware about the alternatives and those changes. And third thing is about affordability of those alternatives, because a lot of these green solutions that we talk about comes at a premium cost, which is not possible and feasible for all to adopt. So that's where I think those three things need to also be worked upon in terms of course, we have the policy in place as we have been iterating on these things, but what we need is to implement is a solution which is made easily available to people. So for an individual right now, it's very convenient to just consume something and trash it. How can we move from that convenience to something less convenient, of course, but something which is easily available to those people? So those kind of solutions need to be created, and that's where I think more work needs to be done. One is awareness, and second is making alternatives more available to people.
So, do you really think that we could have better dealt with this pandemic in this regard?
So Neer, I think first of all, when it came to us as an issue, it was a new thing for all of us. We were not prepared, and at the immediate effect, I would say the reaction was how it should have been. But as we are learning more about things, and science is telling us about more about the protective elements that are things, I think there is enough evidence which says us that apart from the healthcare workers, with the frontline workers, the use of surgical disposable mask is not really going to make any more difference than a reusable cloth mask. So that solution is something which is there for, because it's a very small percent of people who are working as frontline workers in the industries. And what is also need to be mentioned is that a lot of these healthcare facilities they've got a proper disposable method in terms of maintaining biomedical waste, which is completely something which is very much ignored in our nation, because municipalities at least do not have this thing. Most of these biomedical waste is managed by companies directly from hospitals, and that there is a positive part of it, because at least I remember 4 years or 5 years ago, I had done an exposure visit to 5 hospitals as part of a project, and we went to some of the top hospitals in the city, and we were amazed that to see how well segregated and managed biomedical waste was. That really gave me a position of hope also, because if this can be done to the medical waste, it can also be done to other forms of waste. Of course, that is at an institutional level. This is we're talking about individual level, which is definitely more challenging. But that really worked, because there was a lot of pressure from the courts on implementing these things, and there were the hospitals' license were at risk, so they were forced to do it, and that really worked. Happens with biomedical waste. Now, coming back to the individual use of waste, now disposables is not only an environmental risk, but it is also a risk of spreading infection, something which we nearly need to think about. And that is where I think, again, I come back to the awareness part of it. Not a lot of education materials or awareness has been spread by public figures and municipalities on management of biomedical waste. Just very quick example of that missing link of awareness is the Kolkata municipality actually introduced a different kind of bins. They have covered yellow color bins being added to different parts of the city just for disposing of these biomedical waste, which is surgical masks, PPEs, and sanitizers, and all of these things. But it is due to lack of awareness. If you go around the city, you will find people dumping everything in that bin. So that's where I think the missing links are in terms of awareness and education.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your thoughts and your ideas with us. Now, my question is for Mr. Ankit Agarwal. Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah. If investors or government provide you with $1 million today to solve the waste management issue, where would you start and how would you allocate the amount?
I think that's a great opportunity for every one of us. And we, as a panelist, I think everyone is doing an amazing job in their respective fields. And so I would like to divide the amount, or if I want to divide the discussion into major parts. So one is waste management level on the land, and one is for the oceans. So I think both have to be handled in a different manner. So 2 years back, there was a company called Augusto Beyond, and they did an amazing job by installation of flash pumps near the carts. So I was really amazed to see that solution, because it's a very easy solution and very easily implementable thing. So they just installed these plastic covering around nearly 50 meters at every ghat, and they had a net in place over there. So what all waste people are dumping over in ghats or in Ganga or any lakes, or it's collected very easily. Any plastic bottle which you used to dump, everything was collected very easily, and this was implemented to a great extent. I'm not sure update. I don't have a decent update of their work, but that was a great thing, and which can be implemented to every ghat or every accessible public points of the river. Secondly, there are many open drains in the city, and which directly connects waste collected to the rivers. I think that's a very major missing link from the government side, that they don't have any setup to collect the waste or segregate the waste and throw the unused part, or I think none of the waste should be thrown to the ocean or rivers. They should have a system in place at least to collect plastics and the paper and all the other food organic waste which can be recycled before doing any such thing. I think that would be a major part in that. Plus, as I'm a trash bin person, so I would like to install these trash bins at every 50 to 100 meters distance in every nook and corner of the city, so that there is a change among the persons who want to use these bins. At least they'll get an opportunity, because we are talking about a behavioral change, which is currently very much necessary in these times, because people don't think much before throwing any waste to the street. They simply don't care. So I think installation of trash bins in every nook and corner of the city will actually solve this problem. And the next would be implementation of segregation. Currently, if you see, I will just share an example with you. I won't name the municipality, but there was so many we approached many municipalities for installation of these litter bins. So one of the municipalities asked us to install segregated bins in their city. So we were amazed. We are open to do this. It's not a problem for us. But they were promoting these segregated bins around the city. But when we saw that the place where they collect the waste, it's all mixed up. So even if you put dry waste and wet waste in primary collection points, so we used to dump all the waste in a single bin. So there was no point of doing this segregation at source. So there has to be a proper infrastructure in place by municipality to segregate these waste. And dry and wet is a very initial process for that. And after that, we can do multi-level segregation and recycling and upcycling of these products. So that is a much required space where awareness needs to be there. Also, Ripu talked about EPR, and I think that's a very great initiative by the government, but successful implementation of that EPR is very much required, not only from the manufacturer side, but from the consumer side also. So I was reading a blog somewhere. So there can be a system where creation has a cost to it. So whenever we buy a plastic bottle, we are paying for plastic bottle. Whenever we are buying a paper cup, we are paying for that. So creating anything, there is a cost involved with it. But destroying anything, people don't see any cost involved with it because directly it's not affecting their pocket. So implementation of fine for destruction of any waste would be a major breakthrough in this policy. If I've been given a charge to do this, so I think that would be my major points which would cover issue.
Thank you, sir. Now, I guess that Ripu sir and Ajay sir is also eager to answer this question. So I would ask Ripu sir to answer this.
I think, first of all, $1 million is a great starting point, like Ankit said, for anything that we're trying to do. But I think on a more serious note, according to me, I'd like to organize the unorganized sector of collection to its maximum potential, because I believe we don't even have a sense of the problem at hand right now. We talk about global numbers, we try to extrapolate that into national numbers as well. But we here in India have a long way to go to actually understand the extent of problem that we're dealing with. And that will only happen when we are able to at least complete the cycle of collection, right? Like I spoke about, 40% goes uncollected and so on and so forth. If we are able to bridge that gap and get the entire amount of waste that we generate collected, we're able to then do a proper data analysis on how much of solid waste, how much of wet waste, how much of biodegradable, non-biodegradable, and non-biodegradable then becomes segregated into how much of plastic, the high-grade plastic, which is recyclable, and the lower grade plastic, which is majority of it, by the way. The multi-layered packaging, which is unrecyclable, is a huge problem, is a huge menace. Paper, another waste, styrofoam, thermocol. A lot of these are never talked about, but are equal menaces to the environment. How do we build solutions around the problems that we don't understand completely? So my endeavor would be to organize this unorganized sector of collection so that from each household, from industry and any other waste generating sources that we have, we're able to collect the entirety of it. Recycling, I still believe is a, and if I have to say, it's not there, or people go on to the extent and say recycling is a joke. I'd not go to that extent, but it is a major problem. And we talk about recycling, it's not gonna really solve our problems, right? For actually addressing the problem, we need to bridge that gap and close the loop around collection. and then do a proper data analysis on what we have and how much of it can be recycled, how much of it can be cut down, and build solutions around it. So that's going to be my endeavor. $1 million. I will try to organize the unorganized sector of collection.
Well, that was insightful. So, Ajay sir, how would you approach this question
Thank you,
or this
Shreya.
situation?
Yeah, so I personally feel that $1 million, as Ribu also said, is a good start money, but I think it's not enough to address the waste problem to this thing. But yeah, I would like to put the money into something which is already existing as a solution and is a proven record. So a few days ago, I was accepting a workshop, and there there were representatives from municipalities in Bangalore and some stakeholders who are working in addressing the waste issue, and they have been doing some really good work. And some of the problems they identified was very fundamental. Like at the municipality level, there is a lot of capacity building that needs to be done, and there is a lot of data integration that needs to be done. For example, right now, still, if you go to a government office in our city or somewhere, you will still find people writing something on a piece of paper, and that's we are talking about digital India. And so maybe if you had asked me this question about a year or 2 years ago, I would have been putting that money into all setting up bins and setting up infrastructure and everything. But I think right now a lot of money needs to be spent on education and awareness and capacity building of municipal workers, because the entire supply chain from collection of waste and processing of waste, there are a lot of layers to it, and we cannot avoid the waste hierarchy. Because what happens is some of the solutions which look very attractive, like for example, a lot of waste to energy plants have been proposed and set up, and there is a lot of subsidy available from government to set up a waste to energy plant. But there are think tanks who have done deep analysis of these plants, and they've seen that it's actually not a feasible solution, because the calorific value of that waste which is there, it's not enough to generate enough electricity, and the residual waste of that is nearly 25 to 30%, which is again hazardous waste to man. So it's not actually a feasible solution. So where is that feasible solution? The feasible solution lies in decentralized management of solid waste, where you have segregation at source, and you have decentralized ward level segregation centers where you further segregate these things. And at the first level is also education. So maybe making some kind of environmental literacy as part of our curriculums very strongly, and increasing the amount of education we do for waste. Because if you build over the mindset of people to start reducing weight as first level, and that's the point where point of start. It's not creating a very good infrastructure of managing large amounts of waste. We are not interested in managing waste. We are trying to cut down on waste. That should be our first goal. And then comes what type of waste is generated. Can we avoid a certain type of waste which is more difficult to recycle and rehabilitate? Can we reuse them or this thing? So following that hierarchy which already exists, and it's not that the waste problem has not been solved in parts of the world. It's already solved. It's addressed problem. So all we need is replicate and scale those solutions. So I would bet my ones on put this money on recreating that infrastructure and making municipalities, building capacities of municipalities to be able to implement the solution.
Well, that's again a great idea, and I hope that we all get this opportunity someday. Okay, so my next question is for Mr. Ankit Agarwal. So can you please give us some examples of successful collaboration that can inspire us to move together and keep working on the issue of plastic pollution, especially in the rivers and oceans?
Hi. Successful collaboration. Can you please elaborate the question, like kind of
like some successful collaborations that can inspire us to move forward?
The whole idea, Ankit, I think it would be great for everyone attending this session to understand the power of working together in solving the waste management issue to a large extent. Yeah,
I would say the public movement in this was very nice. The Rangers thing which we did, but government intervention is very much required. So as Ajay rightly pointed out, capacity building and behavioral change amongst the people. So that is, I think, a major challenge which currently we are facing. And if government intervention is there at different locations around the parts, wherein I talked about the trash boom initiative by Augusto Beyond. If that collaboration can be done with the government and they install these kind of trash booms at every ghats, I think the waste won't be entering the ocean, and the problem will actually be solved before it is occurred. So that would be one of the major things which we discussed. Secondly, generation of waste by people who destroy or make the oceans in such conditions. I think kind of seminars and behavioral change activities can be done at the waste creator level. So, as river rangers are doing a lot of activity in Malik Ghat, so there can be a seminars which can be introduced on the weekdays and which can educate people who are doing littering over there. So that can be a great way wherein we can reduce the level of waste which are entering into.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful thoughts and your ideas. Mihir, would you like to take it over?
I would like to take it over. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shreya, for handing it over to me. As I promised, there is a Q&A session for all the audience present out here, our enthusiastic audience. So, as we do not have much time, can you all please ask your questions? Please raise your hand and we will unmute you. We would take only 3 of just questions.
While we are waiting for questions to come in the Q&A section, I actually had a question myself. Maybe I'll go quickly to Ripu for this one, but again, depending on if Ajay or Ankit feels like answering, please go ahead. We've seen around the world quite a lot of examples where people have taken the law into their hands to sue companies or governments, right? And a couple of you during the session have shared that in India, the law was quite well in place, but the problem was the implementation of the same. To what extent can we use public interest litigation and public suing of supposedly accountable organizations in order to make the waste management issue progress forward?
So that's a wonderful question, Pauline, and I'll try to take a stab at it, and Ajay and Ankit can chip in. I'll specifically talk about examples because that's what we mostly do. The problem is huge, and if we talk abstract, it's always going to be a problem. So let's talk about specific examples. Even in India, for that matter, there have been public PILs being filed. Especially, for example, a recent example was all these e-commerce players, including Amazon and Flipkart, where these young children, teenagers, who I've had the privilege, some of them, because these teenagers are really, really into environment and really passionate about what you and I can make, how we can make a change. So they went ahead and filed this PIL, and I think it's taken them a year. But they did get a stay order, and the likes of Amazon said, okay, we will completely do away with our plastic packaging, right? That's primary example, but I can still tell you, I ordered from Amazon during this lockdown. A couple of those parcels were completely plastic free, but there were a few parcels which were completely plastic, and there was so much of plastic, blatant plastic use, right? So, and I did post on Twitter and all of that, but yes, it is something which can be done, which can be implemented on ground in India when we feel passionate about a problem and we know we can file a case and get some sort of a hearing around it and get people to be aware. But the problem is, and maybe Ajay can shower a little more light on it, is the fact that although these policies are in place, the execution from the top has been a problem. And if you then file PILs and cases around it, there are just not enough measures to actually make people responsible around it. Secondly, like I said, I believe, the example being EPR, there's a lot of push towards the manufacturers. Now, government needs to figure out ways to incentivize. You can't just make a policy and say, okay, it's being pushed down to the manufacturers and other stakeholders. It needs to come with certain sort of incentivization as well, right? So there needs to be punishment, but there needs to be incentives for people to actually adopt it also. Handing over to Ajay if you want to add something.
Yeah, I think so. Ripu, I think you were talking about Aditya Dubey. So this guy is a 16-year-old. He's an Earth Day Network star, and what he did is that he filed a petition at NGT, the National Green Tribunal, asking e-commerce players to be fined for use of single-use plastic. And his petition was accepted. And a little over that, only Amazon and Flipkart came out with their promises that they will go plastic-free by a certain period. And we just read, I think Amazon it was, that they have already declared that they have gone plastic free by in a few months ago. So that's perfect example of a 16-year-old taking these large giants into courts. And so there are multiple examples. I remember one quick example is from another 12-year-old or 11-year-old girl in Thailand. Her name is Lily, as we call it, and she's also one of the Earth Day Network stars. That's how I know the story. She complained against the malls wrapping fruits and everything in single-use plastics in malls in Thailand, and she also got rid of them. So there are very good examples that exist, and there are so many activists who have filed litigations pending against municipalities have been taken to court for implementation of proper waste management rules. And that I think says that there is more opportunity if more of us do this thing. That definitely is a big opportunity, because those it's very unfortunate that in our country that policymakers have to be reminded by court to implement a certain law. I think that's a shame, I would say, this thing, but I think there is one quick perception that I have with this thing. I was reading one report where it was from China, where the single-use plastic waste actually grew exponentially as the e-commerce in terms of food delivery started increasing. And today also in India also we are seeing with the likes of Swiggy, Zomato and all the other food delivery apps growing their number of orders. The use of single-use plastic is growing exponentially. And that's one area I think where the government also needs to chip in, where we need to these things, because it's again a fight between lives and livelihood, because that's what happens in the pandemic, whether you should go for a lockdown or you should open up, because that's life. Similarly, it's about the jobs of so many food delivery apps, employing so many delivery people and increasing the growth basically. So you cannot just ban delivery apps. That is not the solution. So we have to find a sustainable solution to all of these things, and they exist. We have to, as Ripu also mentioned, is that we have to just incentivize solutions, because otherwise what happens is it becomes a disadvantage for other players in the market. It's not just disincentivizing and finding people who are not complying, but also incentivizing who are following certain parameters, maybe giving them some tax breaks or something, so that they have enough feasibility to move towards solutions which over the time become cost effective. Like for example, right now, in terms of use of EVs, the cost is a little high, but we know in a few years the cost will come down. So if there is enough incentives for people to adopt, like large companies, like I think Flipkart came last couple of weeks ago, they declared that they will move their entire fleet to EV over a period of time. So now if such large companies commit to certain investment, the industry gets accelerated, because then investors have money to put in, because they know there is a demand available for these EVs, so they can spend money, and that's how you accelerate the push of this solution. So that I think that's incentive point is very well taken. I think that we require more incentives for greener solutions.
Thank you, sir. I hope that the government throws light to these problems. Pauline ma'am, would you like to add something?
No, just thanking Ripu and Ajay. One of the things that I had in mind when asking this question is not only accelerating change, but also because one of our river rangers, Sohail, is the policy and advocacy manager, and maybe there are ways for the river rangers to pitch in on this, like through this particular solution. So Sohail, keep all of that in mind, and maybe we can make things move a bit faster. Ripu, you want to add something?
No, what you brought in just now, Pauline, is very important, because I think it's very important for all of us to understand, every citizen in this country, that we can actually impact a change from a policy perspective as well. Being myself associated with the government now, and have access to the likes of PMO, the sports ministry and Ayush ministry. I know there are a lot of things in the back end that go on trying to make these policy changes. And Ajay, to your point of the Prime Minister announcing that, I think those were 6 single-use plastic items that were to be banned on October 2nd, 2019, the primary being polythene bags. Why did that not happen? There are multiple reasons to it. One of the reasons is polythene bag industry is a huge industry. And it's again part of the unorganized sector. There are millions of people employed in it. Till the time you provide alternative employment to them, how can you take away their employment? That's a factor that the government needs to factor in as well, right? But the fact is, it's in their hands to create alternative employment. Why can't we ramp up our infrastructure? The government creates policies, incentivize the cloth bag industry so much that they can ramp up their infrastructure, and a lot of this unorganized sector from the polythene bag industry can move over to a cloth bag industry, and that's when you can make that move of banning polythene bags. So I think that's an example which kind of goes to what you were trying to say or ask, Pauline.
Thank you so much, Ripu. Absolutely. Sohail, I've seen that you've joined our ranks among the panelists. Do you want to say something, Sohail? If you can hear me. You have to unmute yourself if your connection allows. Otherwise, I will request Shreya to close up the session.
Pauline, if I can just have one comment.
So we'll go to, so I think, yeah, Ajay, maybe to a few closing words, then we'll go to Ankit and Ripu for the same to close up. Yes.
Yeah. So I think with the policy front, because first of all, I would like to acknowledge that River Ranges project itself is a very beautiful example of collaboration. There are a lot of partners have come in, and there are all the aspects covered. Like there is a strong educational aspect which works at the behind of these things, which do not gets highlighted. But all these youth who come together and this cleanup, they come with a lot of excitement and a lot of energy, but in the process they learn a lot of things which are not taught in the textbooks, and it also helps build their mindset towards the things that we all talked about. It's more sustainable kind of awareness that happens in the process. So that's there. In terms of the missing link, of course, the government is there, a missing link where we have not been able to bring in on board. I think that's something which River Angels has been trying as well, and that is very important link. I think one very good point where we can work on the collaboration, it's an example that I came across in Maharashtra, a lot of places, and something which I'm trying with one of my organizations as well in to implement this year is at the ghats, a lot of the spiritual waste which is coming in is going to the trash, and it is during the pujas, after pujas that happens, and there are so many pujas happening at the time. Now there is a lot of emotions attached to this waste which prevents them to put them in a waste bin and all. So what this organization in Maharashtra did is that they worked with the local municipality and created a large pot which is shaped of a spiritual kalash, they call it, which is made of a certain material, and all of the people who are coming to the ghats for their immersion and everything, these are household pujas of Ganesha. They are asked to put the flower waste and everything in this pot, and they have created some artificial ponds there, which they put is used for immersion. They do not actually allow anyone to put the idols into the water bodies, and Then after that, the entire artificial pond is cleaned up, and all of this waste is processed very, very scientifically. So that's something we are trying to replicate as well this year. And I believe there is a solution, there is an opportunity for us to think about the solution for that particular ghat where so much of time and effort has already instinct to set up a artificial kind of solution there, and encourage people on a voluntary basis, if not a forced basis, to block it and see how the reaction is, how many people actually move towards a solution which is more eco-friendly.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So we have a question from
Ajay. Like Ajay correctly pointed out, but I think last year I personally saw about the KMC. So they also did a really great job during immersion of Durga Puja. So I think this was implemented last year only, and I saw this work in one of the ghats near Nintala. There currently, I think none of the idols are submerged in the river. So they just do a dip inside the river, and then it is collected back to the recycling center. I think that last year was done wonderfully by the KMC people, and I think the solution provided by Ajay is also very nice, and if that can be implemented over here, it can add a great value. I would also like to add one point about Ripu correctly, which he said about the incentivizing the cloth industry as against the plastic industry, so that people are shifting towards better alternative solutions. Uh, just as the government policy we were talking about, and Pauline rightly pointed about the government policy which is there in place. So there is a concept of SEZ. If you all know about the government incentivize the industry for taking a plot in a special economic zone, and they are tax free for 5 years. And something similar should also be done for a company who is implementing or any alternate solution to the plastic waste or to any single-use plastic waste. So that can be a great incentive to the industry to start with.
Well, that's a great idea. So if Ripu sir can add on some of his words for the closing.
I've already spoken a lot, but I think I'd just like to say thank you to Pauline, Lockie, the entire River Rangers team, Shreya, Mihir, everyone for having me. But I think the last words that I'd like to leave everyone with is I genuinely believe that you and I can have the power to change things around us. We just need to take that one step. Don't think about whether you have hundreds of people behind you or a single person. If you believe or if you are passionate about something, just go ahead and try to make that change. People follow your actions, not your words. So don't even try to preach. And I think since we're talking about the environment, we just need to learn to leave more of our footprints than carbon footprints. I think that's what we all need to learn at some point.
Well, that's very true that people follow our actions more than our words. But we have a question from Sohail, if you'd like to answer. In the Indian lawmaking system, currently there is one judge for 19 lakh cases. So environmental responsibilities evidently at the end of their priorities. What steps can change makers like us take to it, even if it's a bit small of a change?
Any of the panelists can maybe share a very quick answer to that to help our river rangers and our team going ahead, and then we'll close up.
Yeah, sure. So I think the quick answer to is that definitely that's a very large section of a problem that our courts are extremely busy, and there are a lot of pending cases that are there, and that's one of the purpose that there is a National Clean Tribunal which exists to look and focus on this environmental cases. But very unfortunate that it's a shame that this current government, since been set up, has not actually added a lot to this, and a lot of these NGT benches still lie empty, and there are not judges being appointed. There is not proper functioning of these courts. So that's something which is a very critical point, and the solution to that is that we keep raising our voices as individuals and people and citizens, because ultimately in a democracy the citizen voice lasts, and we have seen so many examples where one thing becomes a big issue all of a sudden when a lot of people keep shouting and echoing on this, and that's where I think the solution lies. And that's, as individuals, we need to adopt certain measures and we act on that, and certainly we keep shouting and asking for the governments to also comply. I think that's the thing that we all should be doing, not just as a responsibility, but also because it's the only chance we have to address these problems, because we are at a critical point, and it's a more never before has been this time of crisis where if we do not take action in the next few years to fix such these problems, we might not be able to solve them completely, because that's going to cause irreparable damage to our planet. And we are seeing so many examples of the crisis in terms of the extreme weathers that was there. And let me tell you, Kolkata as a city lies as one of the most vulnerable cities in terms of this crisis. And it's not us alone solving the problems which can fix this, but all of us, because it's if someone burning waste in Delhi or this thing, it still affects Kolkata and vice versa. So it's all transboundary issues that we need to solve as collective human beings.
Thank you, sir, for this.
Sorry, I'll just answer that in a single sentence, Sohail. We have the power of vote. We all do. With the state elections, a lot of state elections coming in the next 1 year or so, make environment the #1 agenda. We all have the power to spread awareness and educate people in Pauline River Ranges, everyone, including myself. I think that's one awareness on one point that we need to take up with every workshop that we do, every school that we adopt or work with, that this should be the top agenda, top priority for every politician, every government out there. If you want to be our government, if you want to be our state and national representatives, then take environment as your top priority, because only then can we survive if we have the political will. So change makers like us, we have the power to vote. Let's utilize that to its full potential.
Thank you, Ripu sir, for your kind words. And Loki sir, would you like to add something?
No, I've had a very enjoyable afternoon here in Australia, sitting down quietly and listening, just getting a fresh perspective, on issues that we all care so much about, things that we as the River Rangers often, oh, sorry, the lights here turned off. There we go, back on. Things that we at the River Rangers talk to each other about all the time, but hearing your stories, hearing your perspectives on these critical issues, it's so refreshing, so inspiring. Yeah, so thank you very much for your time, and I hope everybody else who's tuning in got as much out of this as I did.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, would you like to add something?
Just a huge thank you for taking your time on this Monday morning to inspire not only us, but also all of the attendees. We do need to keep our inspiration and motivation up. And as Loki was just saying, sometimes getting some external inputs to what we do and what we've been already doing for the past year is the best way for us to move forward. So again, Ajay, Ankit, Ripu, thank you so much for taking your precious time to be with us today. I could not be more thankful, and we'll see you soon and keep working together with the youth all together collaboratively on this matter.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you everyone for making this celebration a grand success. Special thanks to Inakshi Majumdar, the stakeholders manager of this River Rangers project. Would you like to add something?
Thank you, Shreya, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ripu sir. Thank you, Ajay sir. Thank you, Ankit sir. Thank you. Thank you for at least providing me with this opportunity to work with such an organization. And I always feel like there is a lot lot to work more and to inspire people. Like as Ripu sir mentioned, that our actions speak more than we preach. So it's always better to show the people in work rather than preaching. So I believe in that, and I hope soon this COVID situation gets better and soon we can run back to our Malik Ghat and start cleaning and inspire more people and inspire more youth. I hope by next year we will grow in team and grow and inspire more people to become individual leaders who can take over new projects by themselves and start and take up all the other ghats in Kolkata as well as in other places of India. Thank you everyone for this amazing session and for making our celebration a success.
Thank you, Nakshi. We have challenges and great opportunities, but with your help, we can make the upcoming years much more productive and fruitful for the nature. So if you want to join us, you can visit our website, follow our Facebook page for the latest updates. And once again, thank you everyone and stay safe.
A very, very much thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
The two hosts.
Thank you all, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, everyone, thank you so much. Happy World Cleanup Day 2020. And
can we take a group picture?
Oh yeah, right. Thank you, Ajay. I'm so bad at these. Aparupa and Enakshi, if you can activate your camera, that would be great. Enakshi, are you here? Aparupa, if you can, and if your connection allows, that would be great too. 3, 2, 1. Cheers. Got it. I will send that over to all of you. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you and talk to you very soon. Take care.
Thank you.
See you guys. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.